morning, all. Please introduce yourselves. Tell us where you are speaking from. Give us about 1 minute of what your company does. And also let us know what a good lead is for you. And on that good lead, be very focused on that. I want this kind of person, this kind of team, this kind of individual, if at all possible. I will call your name the way I see you on my screen. Our guest will not be introduced at this time because she will be introduced when she becomes a speaker. So Adele Bush, if you would, please.
Yes, thank you, Keith, and good morning, everybody. My name is Adele Bush. My business is ASB Business Services, LLC, and we're coming to you live from Columbus, Ohio this morning. But our business services are so diverse that we can work anywhere in the United States. We do personalized, customized, and exclusive executive telephone outreach. We also do business research and prospect development. Overall, we are a comprehensive telephone outreach service that works business to business. We do not do telemarketing calls. Our calls focus on business development. A good referral for me would be a business owner who has a need for telephone outreach. You always have to keep your pipeline full. We can do that for you through our research services, through our prospect development services, and our telephone outreach. A sales leader, anyone along those lines that really focuses on clients. Adele Bush with ASB Business Services, LLC.
Thank you, Adele. John Vandersol. And if you're not speaking, could you mute because we're getting echo.
Hi, good morning. John Vandersol, residential real estate agent with the FC Tucker Company, Indianapolis, Indiana. Office out of the Keystone and the Crossing branch. I service Indianapolis and surrounding areas. I work equally with buyers, sellers, and investors. A good lead for me, we continue to experience historically low levels of inventory, although I'm starting to see a little bit of softening in the market. A few price decreases. Maybe that's people not pricing accordingly. So anyway, a seller is a great lead for me, or just someone who's very interested in the value of their property. So yeah, John Vandersol, FC Tucker.
Thank you, John. Nick Sullivan, please.
Good morning, everyone. Nick Sullivan, Business Solutions here in Raleigh, North Carolina, but can work across the nation. We all know that business owners work hard to improve their profitability and cash flow, but most aren't aware of all the federal programs that are available to them. I partner with a company that addresses that marketplace that's usually unaddressed by people, but this could be significant to businesses. Last week, I mentioned a diner that had 10 employees that got over close to $200,000 because they qualified for employee retention credits. We look into that. If they own buildings, hire employees, do research and development, there's all these different programs that can add hundreds of thousands of dollars, even to very small businesses. So if you know of a business that has an open mind that wants to look into it, I use a software that scans these programs, and then we have a team of experts that will gladly partner with their CPA to capture them. A good referral, or this week is restaurants. They typically benefit from all the different types of benefits available, or any Main Street business. Again, it's Nick Sullivan, Sullivan Business Solutions.
Thank you. Jerry Lucco, please.
Good morning, everybody. Jerry Lucco with Franchise Business Source. I am located in Columbus, Ohio, but I work nationwide. And I help aspiring franchisees find that absolutely perfect fit franchise business that gets them the money and the lifestyle that they've been dreaming of right along in terms of business ownership. Not everyone wants to start from scratch. Not everyone wants to reinvent the wheel. And a franchise business has that safety net and the playbook of previous successes that can get them a great lifestyle and a great legacy for their family. A great lead for me would actually be if you know someone who is already a franchise owner or a multi-unit franchise owner, because lots of times those people are looking for new concepts to expand their portfolio. And they understand the benefits and the risks, and I would like to have a conversation with them.
Thank you, Jerry. Zach Fox, please.
Good morning, everyone. Zach Fox, Edward Jones Investments, helping individuals and businesses personalize their investment strategies. A great lead for me right now is someone that is looking at a 401k retirement plan for their business or already has one. We are in a Department of Labor restatement year, as I mentioned last week. So if they're most likely their third-party administrator is going to be sending them a bill for $1,200 to up to $3,000 to do an analysis on their plan. And I'm happy to do that analysis free of charge. That will be adequate for the Department of Labor requirements. So that is a good lead for me right now, is somebody willing to look at, take a closer look at their 401k plans.
Thank you so much there. Gloria, good morning.
Good morning. Gloria Thomas from Columbus, Ohio. I am with Secret Direct, and we are the lifestyle company. And like Rhoda and Nick, I do not only nationally, but I also do international business. So we are a worldwide company, and we help people look better with minerals from the Dead Sea. We can address skincare issues. We help people feel better with natural, organic nutrition. And I say nutrition, it's not vitamins. It is healthy plant food. And we help people experience the world with our new Club Secret. And we now have trips to offer. The world is opening up again, and we have places that you can go and things that you can see and do. So we offer a complete lifestyle to anybody. I'm looking for, specifically at this point, anybody in the services industry, someone who does, who's a beautician or gyms, places like that, where my products would actually be a benefit. Anybody that's looking to expand their product line and offer their customers some exclusive type things. So if you know of anybody, I am Gloria Thomas with Secret Direct, and I am putting my information in the chat.
Rhoda Israelov.
Good morning, all from Indianapolis. I'm Rhoda. My company is Say It For You, and my team and I write what you read when you go on our clients' websites. Right now, for small business owners, it's a very good time to begin a marketing campaign. The larger companies have to wait till the end of the year to get their budgets items in, but the smaller companies are just now coming out of all the problems that they had through COVID, and now they're ready to tell the world they're open again. So it's a perfect time for blogging. And so if you know someone like that, we Say It For You.
Thank you, Rhoda. Two quick things, just so you know. Some of you have paid for to help support this. I keep all that information. You will be receiving a directory of all the CBN speakers and all the CBN related attendees, their contact information and a profile. That information will be coming out to you within the next week or so. Once again, we are going to try to begin refocusing on network. That information will be available to you. Do not abuse it. Let's have some common sense. But, you know, the ability to reach out, talk to somebody, it may not just be about business, but we do want to start the networking, the infrastructure. You may know someone who may be able to use someone else's services. So we want to make sure that you have lines of communication and be able to contact individuals, okay? So did want to give you a heads up on that. So when you see that drop in, it's really good. A lot of you have really good, cute, good looking pictures. I'm not one of them, but we do have contact information for anyone who has attended a meeting and also all our speakers. So that'll be coming to you. That's just, that comes with your membership. Thank all of you for showing up today. Our speaker this week is Lillian Zarzar. She'll introduce herself and her topic. Lillian, you have the floor. You've also been made a co-host. The Lillian Show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you, Adele. I want to thank Adele, first of all, for the offer to get to know this group. And second of all, for Keith being so patient with me as we set this up for today. And I appreciate the opportunity to present this information. I am an international interpersonal and intrapersonal coach, which means I support individuals in their communication systems, both within themselves and externally. Typically, people think that because they talk, they know how to speak, and that is not the case. So just because logistically you know how to open your mouth and say things, many times I've noticed individuals' words fall out and then they can't get them back because it's like toothpaste. You can't put it back in the tube. So once it's out, and then you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. What did I mean? I don't know. Now, where was I? How are people supposed to know if you don't know? So the intrapersonal piece is what I'm going to focus on today. The other thing I want to share with you is that I'm a student of universal laws and principles. So there are three of them I want to share with you with regard to the intrapersonal communication that you have. And intra meaning, what do you say to yourself on a daily basis? And how do you talk to yourself? And do you put yourself down? Would you talk to your best friend that way? Oh, I can't believe I did. That was a stupid thing to do. So I suggest you think about the words that you use with yourself and how that leads you into the relationships that you have with other people. I'm presenting the information for you to consider. I'm not asking you to believe it. What I'm asking you to do is to consider it, because I do think there's some value in sharing information and evaluate whether or not it serves you and feels right to you. If it feels right, great. If not, at least you learned something new today and picked up a new idea. We often in life do the work on our business, and we focus on the business. And I understand from what I've heard of all of you, you're entrepreneurs, you have a spirit of independence, and you choose to want to be able to better yourself and your life. And so you spend a lot of time working on the business in making sure that it's going in the direction that you want. We also, as human beings, have a tendency to spend a lot of time planning vacations. So we work, let's say there are 52 weeks in a year, we spend 50 weeks planning 2 weeks. And so we save up the money and we do the research and we check things out. And how much time do you spend working on you, evaluating you, understanding you? Keep in mind that behavior doesn't lie. So your values and your behavior demonstrate your life. And if you say one thing and do another, you are believed by what you do, not by what you say. So there are three principles I'm going to talk about today. And the first is that we live in a dualistic system in a three-dimensional world. And I'll explain all this as I go on into each, but I'm giving you the highlights right now. So understand that everything has its polar opposite. We exist in a world that is completely dualistic. Everything, including our emotions, have a polar opposite. And that's how the universe is structured in physics. We're living in three dimensions. Whether there are more than that, we're not going to go there, but we are going to understand we live in this three-dimensional world. The second thing is that we are actually charged particles of light when we look at ourselves in terms of physics. And these charged particles of light actually attract and repel energetically. So why do you attract certain clients and not others? Why do you say certain things and not others? Why is it that you're good friends with certain people and not others? So we have that element of energy. And the last is that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It simply changes form. And that is one of the basic tenets in the principles of physics. So how do we apply this to your internal dialogue or monologue, whatever it is you're saying, to yourself and the direction that you move in? So let's look at the first one, the fact that we are talking to ourselves in a dualistic world. So when you are interacting with yourself, are you moving in one direction or are you having the wisdom to see both sides? And I'll give you an example. I have an example for each of these because I think it will illustrate the point much more readily. I had a client whose staff member was disgruntled and disappointed about the money she was making. So she came to my client and said, I'd like to negotiate a better rate. And of course, she had been with my client for a year and a half at that point. So my client came to me and she said, you know, she wants more money. She wants more this. I said, well, you did invest in her and you did train her and you did give her all this opportunity. But at the same time, she's providing a very unique service for your clients. So why not go ahead and negotiate with her and see what you can come to terms with by looking at both sides of the issue and offering her something that's reasonable. They went back and forth for 1 year. And the staff member finally said, here's what I want. And said she wanted 120,000 and she wanted so many weeks of vacation and all these things that she wanted. So my client came to me and said, I can't give her all this, but I can give her some of it. Well, let's look at what you can give her. So she offered her a very well-balanced approach and said, we'll give you this for a year and then negotiate to go higher because it was a unique service being provided. All right. So in the letter, we said, if you choose not to accept this, then thank you, but we may have to part ways. So the staff member comes back and says, tell you what, emails my client and says, tell you what, I'm thinking that there are some other things we need to talk about. I'm not satisfied with what you offered. When my client called me, I said, you already told her that if she doesn't accept this, that's the final offer. So when the staff member came in to talk, my client said, thank you for your service, but this was my final offer. What had happened is this staff member had gone to her friends, told her all about this situation. They all sided with her and said, go for it, ask for more, you deserve it, you're great, you're wonderful. And she lost her job because that day my client said, thank you, but we have to part ways. And that was hard for her to do because she had trained her. She had worked with her and she really wanted to keep her. But the stress of this constant oscillation was overwhelming. When the woman left, she was very upset because she thought she was going to negotiate like she did for a year, back and forth. What does this illustrate? Number one, our emotions oscillate. We're always going from one extreme to the other. Number two, if we're not centered and focused and present, we don't appreciate what we have, which she didn't. And third, the lopsidedness is what got to her. She went to her friends, they saw one side and never thought that maybe my client had really looked at both sides and offered something that was negotiable that she could live with at least for a year. So what happens when we have a lopsided perception? We go one direction, we make decisions based on that direction, and we think we have it all. Then we turn around and go, oh my gosh, I didn't see that coming. You never looked. Why didn't you look? Why didn't you see? Because they're both sides are always there. Remember, nothing is missing. There's no loss without a gain, no gain without a loss. It's all balanced. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It changes form, remember? So it's always there. Everything is there. We have to look. If we don't look, we don't see it, do we? Now, when I talk about lopsided perceptions, I typically will do this. So I want you to look and tell me, is this glass half full or is this glass half empty? Keith, you're laughing. I think you know the answer. What do you think? Yes. Zach, thank you, Zach. The thumbs up. So what does that mean, Zach?
It's half full.
Oh, we've got a half full fellow in the group. All right.
It's
It
both.
depends on
Both.
how you
Half
look
full.
at it.
Rhoda, what do you think?
It is both.
It's both. Gloria? Yes?
It's both.
Yes.
It's both.
Nick? Jerry? What do you think? Both? You betcha it's both. It can't be
Yeah,
half full
half
unless
full.
it's half empty. It can't be half full
That's correct.
unless it's half empty. And we tend to look at the half full and think we know it all. No, we don't. If you look at the half empty, you have a balanced approach. And many people will say to me, just like yesterday, I was talking to someone and she said, oh, I don't want any negativity in my life. I said, well, then you won't have any positivity because you've got to have both to have one, you see. So it's okay. People say don't have negative thinking. I say negative thinking helps us get to the positive. Negative thinking helps us be aware realistically and practically of what are some of the obstacles you might have and then how to deal with them. So the lopsided perception, you have lopsided decisions. And then you aren't looking at both sides to be able to balance yourself out. So what do you say to yourself every day? I'm going to go in this direction because that's the only direction I can take. Or do you say, I'm going to go this direction, or I can go that direction? What will be the result depending on the approach that I take? Remember, behavior doesn't lie. So your behavior tells so much about who you are, what you believe, and what your values are. So we look at this, and I love St. Thomas Aquinas's statement. He said, the will of God is equilibrium. This is not a religious statement, by the way, I'm just letting you know. So the whole universe is designed equilibrated. It is in balance. We just don't see it. And we've got to be able to have that immediate understanding and presence to say, okay, this is the decision I made. What happens if I go that way? Am I willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to love yourself enough to work on yourself? To grow your business, you grow yourself. And if you don't grow yourself and you don't work on yourself, then you're not going to be able to grow your business as much as you want to, because you yourself are stunted because you're not willing to see whatever it takes in order for you to be able to be that much better at what you do. And you're all successful thus far, and I can see that because you have reached a certain level. Do you want to go further? Okay, then work on yourself. Second principle is that we're charged particles of light and we attract and repel whatever we think about. So have you ever had thoughts within yourself thinking about how you're going to address a particular situation or talk to somebody, and you end up not saying what you wanted to say, tripping over your own words, getting unfocused, and worried about what the other person is going to think? And I laugh because in actuality, you're brilliant and you know exactly what you want to say. You know exactly what you want to do. But the translation between the head and the heart, you don't speak your truth. And that's what I do, is I help connect the two so that you're able to articulate and express yourself and identify what it is that you want in a balanced way. Wisdom is knowing that there are both sides and making a decision that is balanced. If you're not balanced, then you're going to go one way or the other, and then you're going to regret or get infatuated. You're going to go one way or the other. Oscillations of emotions, energy and motion. Emotion is energy and motion. So if you're constantly waffling, you're sending messages out that I'm not sure, I'm not clear, I don't know what I want. I think this is what I want. But if you settle and go inside of yourself and say, what do I envision for my life? And what's the most important thing to me? And what am I willing to do to get there? What are you willing to do? Because we're so willing to plan our vacations. Are you willing to plan yourself in your life? Whatever you think about comes closer. Buddha says you become what you think about. You become what you think about. So if you're constantly fearful of something, there's a saying I heard somewhere, whatever you fear comes near. So whatever you're afraid about, comes to you, and then you go, "Oh, I knew that was going to happen. I just knew it." Well, you made it happen. You brought it on. You said, I bet this is what's going to happen, and it did. So a balanced perspective, this is what happens inside of you. This part of the brain, the frontal lobe, is considered the executive center. The amygdala is the emotional center. Many people function within the amygdala, and they're constantly making decisions based on emotion, and emotions are lopsided by their very essence. When you love what you're doing, love is not an emotion, it's a state of presence. It's a state of being. And so instead of becoming, be. Be who you want to be. Be that entrepreneur with values and determination. Be the person you want to be, not become, because you're always becoming, but be in the present, in the moment. And you'll know what to say because you'll come from that state of confidence internally. The third piece I wanted to talk about, and please, I'm going to leave questions for the end, so I would love to hear what you have to say. When I said energy is neither created nor destroyed, it simply changes form. What that actually means is that in the universe, everything is always present. It's just there. They have done research now. I read in Scientific American a few years ago that they were able to get the sound waves of former presidents like Washington and Lincoln. Sound waves continue to exist in the universe. So do light waves. And because we exist and we are subject to the laws of the universe. So one of them is the conservation of energy. What does that mean? It's neither created nor destroyed. It simply changes form. So what do you say to yourself when you see somebody doing something that annoys you? Oh God, I can't believe that idiot. What did they do that for? That just doesn't make any sense. Or are you saying, oh, I get it. I've done that myself. This is how it shows up in me. And I'm annoyed too. I annoy other people. How does that happen? So you've got to think to yourself, I am just like everybody else. I am a reflection of you, folks. And you are a reflection of me. And we all are mirrors for each other to help each other out. So when we say this is missing, find out where it shows up. It's not lost. It's not gained. It just is. It is what it is. Now, why are we talking this way? Because most people come from an oscillating process. They can't make decisions. They don't know which direction to go. They go back and forth and back and forth. They waffle. Why do we call it waffling? And when you send those messages out energetically, that's what comes back to you. So one of the most important elements of your self-talk has to be clarity. Our own thoughts and sound waves are the most powerful indicator of the direction our lives move in. Because that's the first sound you hear within yourself as a baby is the sound of your own voice. The gurgling and so on, this is all language of a baby. One of my students at the university, Ohio University, I teach there, we do interpersonal skills, and working with interpersonal skills, they did study on babies. And babies actually have a language. We just don't understand it any more than they understand ours, but they have a language. And that language, in those sounds, have different meanings. Actually, words are simply sounds with meanings we attribute to them. So when people curse, we get upset because we attribute a certain meaning. It's just a sound. Everything is a sound. And so it's all sound waves and light waves that we're functioning in, and we're subject to these laws. So when you're saying something to yourself, stop yourself and say, wait a minute, what direction am I going in? And is there another direction I can go? What is going on here? What can I do differently? It's not better or worse. It just is. And I think by neutralizing a situation, you're much more able to stay present and focused and get the results you want. So 3 things to think about. Number 1, we live in a dualistic system that's 3-dimensional. Number 2, we are all particles of light and energy and source, And we simply change form as we continue to evolve. Our values shift as we continue to evolve. And you can evolve faster when you stay present in the moment. And third, that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just changes its form because everything is always present. So how does this affect you as an individual? Think about that. Do you wake up in the morning saying, all right, who am I going to meet today? What am I going to say to this person? Plan out your scripts. Plan what you say. When I told you the story of the individual who negotiated with her boss, who is my client, we wrote scripts. I sat with her and we wrote out scripts. If she says this, what will you say? If she says that, what will you say? Are you present with what you want to offer this person? Are you comfortable with what you're offering? And what she offered her, I'll just give you one example. The staff member wanted 120,000. And my client said, I'll give you 110. And you can earn the other 10,000 within the next year. And we'll see then and renegotiate. So she was willing to do that. But what the other person was doing is focusing on, this is all that I want, and I'm not willing to see the other side, to see what else I can bring to the table. So you've got to see the world in a balanced perspective. If you're not balanced, the universe tells you. And I say that guardedly because you'll wonder, why do certain things happen to you? Because energetically you've brought it on and you've made it happen for yourself. So what are you willing to do to see the world in a balanced perspective and not get so emotional? Let the amygdala have an emotional response at the appropriate time, such as the Stanley Cup when Tampa won by 1 point. That was an emotional, they were jumping on top of each other and they were so thrilled. And when the Phoenix Suns won, men cry. Men cry, they actually do in these moments. So I'm just saying, be aware that there are times to be that way. I'm not telling you not to be. What I am telling you is to consider the neutrality of a well-balanced perspective, to see both sides of a situation, to know that everything is always there, and to step into your power. I was at a conference recently with gentlemen and women from all over the world, and we were at the DeMartini Institute conference by Zoom. And a gentleman from India who had studied physics said, we keep forgetting that we're part of nature and that we're not absolved of it. We are actually part of nature. So we have to attribute our behavior and our sense of being to how we function within that nature. The distinction we have as humans is that we have the frontal lobe and we have the cerebral cortex that enables us to reason. And we have the ability to reason. And I have a very favorite author, which I will share with you. Khalil Gibran said, strange that the desire for pleasure is part of my pain. They come together. Pain and pleasure come together. And most people seek pleasure and avoid pain. And they're both there. And sometimes the pain is worth it to get the pleasure. Does that make sense? So think about these concepts. And he also said that reason ruling alone is a force confining. And passion left undeterred can burn to its own destruction. So reason and passion must be in balance as well. How do you balance yourself and appreciate the wisdom that you have within you, the genius that you have within you to approach life in a balanced perspective and say to yourself, who are you? Be the person you want to be. Be. Have you heard of the concept, by the way, that's just popped in my head, so I'm going to share it. The concept of the be, do, and have. And everybody runs around doing things so that they can have what they want, so that they can be wealthy. Shift it. Act as if you are. Be in your mind the wealthy person. Be in your mind the successful business owner in your vision. Be that, and you will attract everything you would love so that you can do what you want and have the life that you desire. I switched it around. So being is critical, and being that person is most important. Who are you to your friends, to your family? What do you say to yourself? What kind of relationship do you have with you? So when I coach individuals, we start with the individual. Where are you in your journey? And then we move forward. And I will tell you that there are many times when I've worked with individuals who say to me, you know, I knew that all along. I was just afraid to go there. Well, that's why you never got there. Questions?
Hey, Lillian, thank you.
Yes.
I always take notes during this thing, and I do have a question.
Sure.
I am the boss. I am the boss. And the reason I bring this up, this issue of balance, particularly balance between employers, employees, does balanced thinking mean that both parties have to have an equal outcome?
Correct.
Do they both have to get a winning hand?
Well, you say winning. Without winning, you can't have winning without losing. So somebody's going to lose if somebody's going to win. But if you look at it from the perspective that you can both win and you can both lose, it's the balance between what your vision is and the buy-in that your employees have. An entrepreneurial thinking, Keith, is very different from an employee thinking. Yet if you can instill in your employees the notion that they are the CEOs of their lives and they are in charge of their lives and the quality of their lives, then everyone will understand that we in actuality work for ourselves. And if they work for themselves, then they know that how they're going to fit into you and your business is going to be in alignment with what they value for themselves. So your vision and their vision have to be in balance in order for the organization to be successful. And part of it is to set up a systems approach, so everyone knows where each person fits into that system. The universe is structured within a system. Everybody knows that. In physics, it's all systematic. So we're part of that. So we have to create a system, and we have to have clarity as business owners, clarity of what it is that we want, and then impart that information to those with us. When they buy into this information because they believe in it too, then they will be in alignment with ensuring that they do their part to make that happen, because everybody then benefits. There are benefits and drawbacks to everything. Does that make sense? Is that helpful?
Yeah. Anyone
So
else
as
with a
an
question?
employer, I don't know how many of you have employees. I don't have an employee, but I do have someone who is a 1099. She works for me and does a lot of my work. When I asked her, I told her I wouldn't hire her to be working with me until she understands what I do. So we went through an entire physics piece to understand where she fits into what I'm doing. And I said, if you're willing to work with me, this is what you have to know and function within that structure. And she was okay with it. She understood it, because she'll call me and say, oh, this is terrible. I'll say, so where's the benefit of the terrible and where's the drawback of the positive, of the wonderful? Because then we get infatuated and resentful. You want to stay in balance.
Okay. Anyone else with a question?
Yeah.
Yes, Nick.
Yes, I think the first time I came in touch with the laws of the universe and the laws of attraction was through the book Think and Grow Rich. When you talk about clarity,
isn't that a great book? Yes.
Yep, clarity, like definite major purpose. And then you watch people leave the corporate world. They say, well, I'll give it a shot, and if it doesn't work, I'll go back to the corporate world. And that's already a statement of failure. So, and we have to be covered. I'm reading Joe Dispenza now, The Breaking the Habit of
I love that book. I'm reading it now. It's a wonderful book.
Right.
Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Yes.
Right. And I look at our brain as a software program. So,
yes.
And we get wired at an early age, and then we have to rewire it, and it takes a lot of work. And I think that's the thing, what you're talking about. A lot of times you can go to motivational, like Tony Robbins, they're all good, but then after the weekend is over, you go back to yourself, and you have to work at what you're saying, to get that, the right thought process
That's
and the
right.
clarity in your life and avoid the oscillating back and forth.
It does take effort. Are you willing to do it? That's the thing, Nick. That's what Dispenza talked about. I almost talked about him, and I thought maybe that's too far out. But I'm so glad you brought it up because
it
he
gets a
talks
little
about the
out
quantum,
there.
and he says the quantum is always there. You just have to step into it. It's always there. That's part of the universal structure.
Right.
It's just that we think it's missing, and that's our lopsided perception. Something's missing. Well, it's there. Just step into it. But you have to be willing to do whatever it takes in order to make that happen, because you are part of the universal structure in terms of functioning. And so what you think about, you bring about. That's basically it. And if you think about failure, for example, people who do a prenup before they get married. Well, just in case we have to divorce, let's plan for it. Well, then why do you go into it deciding to fail? This is what's so interesting. So go into it deciding you're going to do whatever it takes. Why? Because you have to know in your heart that it's the right decision. So if you're not making the correct decision, you are going to set up a prenup out of fear. There you go. Thank you, Nick, for bringing that up. I hope you're enjoying that book. It's wonderful. And if this group decides to read that book as a group and talk about it on a regular basis, you're going to shift your perceptions. You're going to shift your mind. You're going to shift here, because everything has to come from the heart. The heart knows the truth, and the heart is our connection to the universal laws. That's where we know. We know here. And so often people have said, I knew inside this, I just knew it. Then why didn't you do anything with it? We all have an intuition. We all have the ability to use that intuition so that we get the forefront of the brain functioning. That's why I talked about the brain, because it is, as you said, Nick, it is the like a computer. And so it's constantly processing everything. Have you ever had a situation where you said to yourself, oh, I got over it. I'm done with that now. I can move on. And then something happens. And you go, yeah, I thought I was over that. Now, what happened? Well, it was archived. And then an event took place that was similar to that initial event. And it came surfacing and going, hi, I'm still here. The file is still here, because it was never dissolved. So what I do with people is we dissolve the charges. What am I charged up about? Well, let's dissolve it and look at it in balance. Let's dissolve. How do you dissolve it? You see both sides. Become grateful. I think that the one thing, if I can impart this to you, is to be grateful for everything. Grateful for the negative, grateful for the positive, grateful for whatever occurs, because there's a lesson in everything to be learned. There's a lesson. And no matter what we've ever been through, I remember when I was assaulted, and I was living in German Village in Columbus, because I'm here in Columbus. And when I was living in German Village, I was assaulted by a gentleman, and I was thinking to myself after this was all over, and thank God I lived through it, I asked myself, Lillian, what were you thinking in that moment that was so charged that you drew that in? And I realized I was completely infatuated with myself. Oh, I'm just having a great life and I can't do any better and I am so good. And I was totally infatuated to the degree that the universe said, you think you have it all? All right, let me show you. Bingo. And it brought me back into balance. And I was totally grateful because he helped me see the moment, in that moment, that I thought I had it all. Instead of being humble and grateful, I was infatuated with myself. So I learned my lesson very deeply that day. So think about what you think about on a regular basis and ask yourself, am I in balance or am I totally oscillating and I can't decide and I can't move back and forth? Just to understand about the word decide, CIDE is an indicator of releasing or killing something like genocide, suicide, infanticide, all of those sides. So when you decide, you're not choosing, you're eliminating something. So that's what you want to look at, the other side of decision. It's not about what am I going to choose for myself right now? What am I willing to release so I can move forward? So you have to have a vision of what you want and know what you're willing to release and let go of. So when I talk to my client, as I told you the story, it's a perfect illustration, because I sat with her and said, decide. She said, well, I don't know what I want to do. I said, let's decide. What are you willing to let go of to move forward? She was willing to let go of this person who brought more angst to the team because of her unhappiness than she did if she just was released. And when she was released, everybody in her business said, oh, it's about time. Because they could feel that energetic angst constantly. They'd walk in and you could feel it in the air. Things are all settled now. We're all moving forward. But that was the whole notion of, when you decide what are you willing to release and cut out that is unnecessary and that is having a negative impact on you, that's preventing you from getting to the positive. So you've got to balance it out and know that you're making the decision based on your wisdom and not what somebody else thinks you should do. I would just say, fire the committee in your head. There's always somebody telling you what to do. Just fire them. Listen to your own soul. That's where it comes to the heart and knows the truth. And so listen to your own truth.
All right. Anyone else with additional questions? Jerry, please.
A lot of people that I work with have, they get stuck in fear, right? Because
yes, sure.
They're like, do I move forward and start this business? And what the question that just absolutely drives me berserk is, what if I fail? And it's like, think about your historic successes and everything you've been able to be in the corporate world or wherever you are. And why do you think you can't take that with you, right? To be when you're a business owner.
Good for you.
But how would you phrase it to them? I love that saying, what am I willing to release to move forward? And I feel like I might use that, but can you think of a better question to ask them that helps them understand that the fear they've got is like within themselves?
Part of it is, yes, part of it is that they are afraid. Not only are they afraid of failure, but they're embarrassed to think that here I've been successful in this other arena and I don't know if I can do this. I would ask them what brings them to the point that they believe that they want to do this. Why do you want to be a franchise owner? What does that mean to you? Help them bring them, Jerry, to clarity about why they want to do this. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to help them see the benefits and the drawbacks to being a business owner or a franchisee. Let them see both sides and make the decision from a balanced perspective. They come to you because people I believe that they want to be independently wealthy and they want to be independent and make a lot of money. And money is just a form of energy. It's another form of energy and we exchange it for different things. So if their perception is, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to make enough money. Why? Because the employee mindset is, this person is going to give me money. And the person who is the boss determines how much I'm going to make. Right, Keith? You determine how much your employees make. They don't. However, let's think of it the other side. If you're your own boss, you decide how much you make. And when you own a franchise, depending on how hard you're willing to work at it, you can make more money by being a business owner. And if that's what they want, then they've got to be willing to do the work. Nick said it. You have to be willing to do the work. If they're not willing, say, this may not be a good fit for you, and move on. Because you want to attract the people who are willing to do what it takes. And I would ask them, why is it that they want to be a franchise owner, and then offer them both the benefits and the drawbacks, because they come together, and say, now that you know both, are you still willing to move forward on this? If they say yes, then you help them create a strategy to know how to implement it. There's another system for you. And by creating that system, you are then cooperating with them in terms of helping them fulfill what they would love to do. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
People
Okay.
are afraid of everything. We all have fears, everybody's afraid of something.
Yeah.
So we have to go within ourselves as individuals and say, all right, why am I afraid of this? What do I believe? I've heard of people talking about limiting beliefs, and I used to have a presentation called Limiting Beliefs. And then I realized beliefs are just beliefs. We only limit what we do by what we think we can. So beliefs are simply beliefs. They're not limiting and they're not expanding. They're just simply beliefs, and we function within those beliefs. So we have to go back to say, where did those beliefs come from? Who told us that? Children are seen and not heard. Who said that? Who decided that? I think children are brilliant. They're just short adults.
Yeah.
Hey. Of course,
Okay.
adults are tall children.
And with the thought of short, we want to make sure that we maintain our meeting
Oh, yes,
discipline.
of course. I could go on, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for giving
No
me this
problem.
opportunity to share what was in my heart.
Thank you so much. Hey, before we get off here, David, you came on late. Would you give us a short intro and a good lead for you, sir?
Good morning. I'm Dave Garrison. I'm with Mutual Omaha Mortgage, and I'm a reverse mortgage loan originator, and I work with seniors and their advisors in incorporating housing wealth into a retirement income plan. Good lead for me is an advisor who's interested in learning more about it, or a senior who may have a need to incorporate his housing wealth into his retirement plan.
Thank you so much. Hey, good to see all you guys this morning. Interesting discussion. Every once in a while, you just hear some things that make you go, let me think all this through. Having been an employer for an extended period of time, I'm gonna have to think through this balance thing. I'll have to think through it. But I think the overall function and discussion was very, very informative, and it did open my eyes. Nick or Lillian, if you could put the name of the book you guys were discussing in the chat or email me, I want to make sure that we get that out and distribute. Okay. So,
Nick, are you going to send that out to your folks?
yes, I will. So
Okay.
if you can just email it to me, it'd be no problem.
Yeah, I'll send an email to Keith and then.
Thank you. That way I want for someone who might be interested in that field. I think I'm probably going to need to look at that myself, maybe. So
I think you'll find it valuable.
Yes. With that, what I'd like to do is say thank you all for joining us this week. I'll be seeing those of us next week that can make it. So with that, I'll see all you guys, and thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you,
Thank
Lillian.
you. It was a pleasure.
Great
Thank
information.
Good, great presentation.
Thank you.